All right, so what I'm gonna do now is install this Livewell. I just welded this thing up. It actually grew a little bit on me, but it's fine. This thing turned out being 14¼ inches wide by 30 3/16 or 1/4 inches long, and it's 12 inches deep. Now, the problem with these well builds is that from the top of this floor rib to the bottom of my dry hatch track, if I keep it completely streamlined from the front to the back deck, I only have 10 7/8 of an inch. I know that my live well needs to be deeper than that. I have not lost a fish in a live well that I have built ever. I ran into this same issue in the last 1448 well built that I built, and that was actually a little bit over a year ago. That was the well built Elite that I built for Chaz Carrington, and that dude's a hell of a fisherman. He has had 8-9 pound bass in his live well. He's never lost a fish. So I have got to cut these ribs out. This live well has to be deeper, it has to be wider. It just has to be what it needs to be to keep these fish alive. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut 2 pieces of this angle right here. This is 1.5 by 1.5 by 1/8 aluminum angle. I'm gonna cut them both at 31.5 inches. That will leave me a good 1/4 or half on either side of the angle for the live well to drop into. I'm gonna come into this rib right here. I'm gonna cut it right across the top and on the side, and then I'm gonna take that piece out. I'm gonna put one of these pieces, the angle that I just cut inside of there. I could probably use that same piece that I took out, flip it around and put it back in, but the thing about those pieces is these ribs are only made out of like 080 aluminum. I'd rather come back with something a little thicker if I'm gonna cut them out, just because it'll be stronger. And not only that, if I cut those pieces out, I'm gonna have to clean them up. I'm gonna have to grind all of the paint off of them. It's gonna take me a while. It's cheaper for me just to go ahead and use new material and thicker material. It'll be easier to weld and it'll be stronger in the long run. I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing laid out. I'm gonna put you guys back on the time lapse, and I'm gonna get both of these pieces ready to go where I can just drop this live well in here. Let's get back to work. All right, so you just saw me cutting these bottom floor ribs out. Now what I did is not novice level boat build shit. This is pro level boat build shit right here. Now if you're gonna cut these ribs out, you better know what the hell you're doing. What I did was I cut 1.5 inches out of them so I could fit 1.5 inches angle in there. The angle I put in there is 1/8 of an inch thick, which is almost twice the thickness of the original rib. So it's not gonna mess with the integrity of it at all. If you don't understand why I was doing this or anything that I just did, I'm gonna show you right now. This live well is 12 inches deep. The amount of space I had in here was only 10 5/8 of an inch. So now this live well will drop below these ribs, and this is what he needs in this boat. This live well is gonna be deeper, it's gonna be bigger, it's gonna be big enough to house the big fish. That's what you wanna put in this live well, right? It's the whole point of it. If you catch a 9-10 pound bass at 7:30 in the morning and you got the whole day to fish this tournament, do you really wanna put that fish into a live well where it's gonna end up dying or having issues and stuff like that? No, you don't. It's the same exact size live well I put into King Neptune. And SBFISHINGTV has put tons of big fish in that live well. He's had a 9 6.8 pound fish in there from like 7 o'clock in the morning until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon at the weigh-ins, and the thing was perfectly fine, released healthy, and is still out there swimming around in the reservoir. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna figure out exactly where I'm gonna put my hole for the drain in this live well, and then I'm gonna cut out this existing front deck. I'm not gonna cut the whole thing out, but I gotta cut into this side right here. This is where the rod locker is gonna be. The rod locker is gonna run right up on this side right here. So he's got 6 foot and some change, maybe 6'1" at max from this existing front deck to his existing back bench seat. And that's not big enough for a rod. Unless you're out there ice fishing and you got some little dinky rods, they're not gonna fit in there. So what I'm gonna have to do, I'm gonna have to cut a hole in the front deck right here. I'm gonna cut like a big section out right here. You got lines on it already, I drew up here, so I know what I need to cut out. And I'm gonna try to insert like a pan, basically a recessed pan inside of here, as deep as I can get it. I'm gonna try to steal at least 2 feet. This thing needs to be 8 foot long. Billy told me that his biggest rods that he used are like 7.5 feet long. But if I'm gonna do it, I wanna do it right the first time. I'm gonna make it as big as I possibly can because you only got one chance at this. You know, we're putting $3,000 worth of metal on top of this and turf, and we're not gonna wanna tear this thing up ever again. It's gonna be a John boat that's gonna last him a lifetime. So I got one shot at this and I'm gonna make it right. I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff going. Let's get back to work. All right, so we're 7.5 minutes into the video. I just realized I never even did an introduction. What's going on? Welcome back to another episode of Trick Tents. This is part 3 of Billy's badass boat build. Now the footage that you just saw was basically the past 3 nights. Today is Friday, November 4th, and I started this video Tuesday night, Wednesday night, and Thursday night. So I'm basically up to the point now where I'm getting ready to install the live well and get the rod locker sleeve up into the existing front deck. Now Billy told me that he's got some time next week where he can paint these hatches. So I'm gonna try to stay after today for a little while and burn out all the hatch lids. I already have all the frames made for it, so all I gotta do is measure them and get some good dimensions so I can draw them on the CAD program and burn them out on the plasma table. Then we'll put them in the press bake, bend them up, I'll cut all my hinges. I'm gonna bring this stuff home with me. I'm gonna work on this over the weekend. I'm gonna get all these hatches finalized. Usually I would wait a little bit and do this, you know, right before I'm ready to install them. But since he's painting everything, I want to go ahead and get this stage completely finished and be done with it. One last thing I wanted to show you guys. For those of you that have not seen this, this is my dual graph bridge. It's got a sweet cutout on the side of a bass. This thing is sick. It's got a universal hole pattern on the front and on the top. You can put 12-inch graphs on here. You might even be able to fit a 15-inch graph on here, but this hole pattern will fit any of the units that are out there. This is my bass graph. I mean, this thing is really cool. It's 11 inches tall and it's a 13 inside at the bottom, so it'll fit over any standard foot pedal tray. Now this is something else I'm working on. This is basically the same exact profile of the red one I just showed you, except it's gonna have the Trick 10s logo in it instead of the bass. They're both sick. I'm really feeling this. I mean, that water table, it does an amazing job. Look at the cutout on that thing. It's so crisp and clean. But I'm gonna have these available very shortly to you guys. I'm building a couple of these as prototypes. I'm gonna run one on my own boat. And if you guys are interested in those, I literally have like 24 of them left. The one I just showed you is powder coated red. All the other ones I have are either raw aluminum and can be powder coated any color you want. I'll even sell them to you as raw aluminum if you're interested in that. Then I've got about 12 of them that are already powder coated black. They're already boxed up, packaged up with stickers in the boxes and everything, ready to go. So if you're interested in getting one of these dual graph bridges, hit me up at trick10sjohnboats.com. I'll put it in the mailbox for you today. Let's get back to work. All right, so these are all the hatches that are gonna go in the boat with the exception of the electrical pan hatch. I have not finished that one yet. I will have to get that one done later, but I'm gonna at least get all these finished up so I can give them to him and get them painted. This is his small hatch. It's basically gonna be his day box and access into the live well pumps if you need to change them out. This is going to be his big rod locker storage. Now it's not very wide, but it's only a 1448, and this is gonna be wide enough for him to slide his rods in here. He's not gonna be pulling 10 rods out of the thing at the same time. It's gonna be deep, and obviously it's gonna be wide than the actual inside of this lip. It's gonna be fine. This is his live well. This is his big storage compartment up front, and these two go into the back bench seat. So I'm gonna get all the measurements I need for this. I'm gonna go burn these things out. Let's get back to work. All right, so I got all of the hatches figured out and drawn into the CAD program. It takes me about 3 to 4 minutes to draw out each hatch. I'm gonna burn this out on my plasma table. This thing is a beast. This is a 5 by 10 foot water table, and it is powered by a Max Pro 200 Hypertherm right here. This thing is a monster though. It can cut up to 2-inch thick steel, so it makes light work out of this 1/8 inch aluminum. Now, as you can see, I drew all of the hatch lids right here. This one up here is his Livewell. This one right underneath that is his large storage compartment in the front deck. These two right here are identical. These are the ones for the back bench seat. This one is his little day box / access panel for the Livewell. And then this one right here is going to be the rod locker. Basically, this dimension around the outside right here is a 4 foot by 5 foot. That's exactly the size sheet that I have as a drop. Thank God I don't have to pull a whole 5 by 10 of 0.125 aluminum today. So I'm gonna put this piece up on the table. I'm gonna go ahead and let this thing eat and burn all these out. Then I'm gonna start bending them. Let's get back to work. All right, so the table is pretty sweet, huh? Now all I gotta do is take these out, clean them up a little bit, mark the corners, and I'm gonna bend them over in the brake. Now, you saw me put my hand on the table holding this metal down. Well, as you can see over here in the corner, it rolled up pretty bad. That's why I'm doing that. Now, this table runs all day, every day, 90% of the time cutting steel, cutting thick steel. Majority of the stuff we cut is like 1/2 inch, 1 inch, in that range. Now, when you burn the steel, it's the slag comes off and it messes up the slats. I mean, look, as you can see, these slats have all these extra pieces of steel on here. And what happens is when you put that aluminum sheet on there, it has different heights. So when it's cutting, it ends up getting snagged up sometimes. So I'm really trying to keep the sheet flat. That way that doesn't happen while it's running. And it'll trip the head and it'll stop, or it will end up messing up my hatch. These look like they're all gonna be good. I'm gonna get these out of here. Let's get back to work. right, so I got all of the lids bent up. You see they're all sitting up here. Now, last bit of business I need to finish before I pack this show up and take it home. I'm gonna chop these hinges up in the chop saw real quick. I'm gonna load this stuff up and we're heading to the house. Let's get back to work. All right, this is my son, Trevor. I'm gonna let him hold this thing. What do you think? Is that heavy?
No, it's really light.
Can you pick it up and down easily?
Yeah.
Look at this. Tell people how old you are, Trevor.
9.
He's 9 years old. And that weighs nothing. That only weighs 6 pounds. Isn't that crazy?
It looks like it'd weigh a lot more.
I know, it's pretty big. It's 33 inches by almost 56 inches, but weighs nothing. 9-year-old can just press it like it's nothing. Alright, let's put this thing back in the boat. What's my slogan? You don't even watch my videos, do you? He spends his whole time watching all these video game YouTubers. It's time for me to get back to work. My own son doesn't even watch my videos. Alright, give me that, a little sucker. Alright, so you guys just saw in the past couple clips, I got all of the hatch doors finished up. Now I just have to weld all the lids on the corners and install all the hinges. Then you saw my son picking up the front deck. The thing is super lightweight. I just wanted to show you guys how light it actually is. That was my son Trevor. He's my middle child. He is super sweet and super nice, but that's the one that you don't want to F with. I'm telling you right now, when he gets mad, that kid is a beast. Not to mention he's damn near a ninja. I'm gonna get back to work. I got stuff to do. Let's get back to work. Alright guys, so as you can see, I just got all of the hatches out of my truck. I just dropped them in the boat real quick, just because I personally wanted to see what it's going to look like. I wanted to get a feel for it, and you can really get a feel for what the boat's going to look like now. I mean, obviously the back deck, we already kind of had that figured out. I mean, this rod locker hatch right here, it's barely sitting up there. I don't have any framing for it yet, but the whole thing looks sick. I mean, you can kind of envision the way it's going to be. Over here, this is just going to be covered up with a blank sheet of 125 aluminum. And that's the cool thing about doing this deck build, the way that I do this framing, because once you install all these hatches, then you only have one piece over here and one piece over here, and that's it. You're done with your whole front deck. I mean, this piece of aluminum here and there, you're probably only looking like another 30 to 50 bucks or something for these pieces, and it's super simple and it's super lightweight. But it's going to be cool as crap. Now, I have not quite figured out the whole side over here. On the starboard side, I got to figure this out. I'm going to put the electrical panel hatch in the side of this piece over here, but I still want to leave him some type of a deck space that's going to come out from the side of the hull, you know, into the middle of the boat. And I want to leave that for him just so he has a room to lay rods over there, especially since the rod locker is going to be over here. That section is going to need to have at least like a 4 to 6 inch top space that's just going to be turf, and then it'll drop down at an angle. It's going to be different. It's not going to be symmetrical. Most of my builds are symmetrical. This one's going to be a little different, and the whole reason I'm doing that is because of this rod locker and because I want to step outside of my box. I want to do something I'm not used to. It's too easy for me to do the same thing over and over and over. I'm trying to make them all unique, and I'm trying to make them all different. So I'm going to go ahead and weld up all these hatch lids now. I just wanted to share this with you guys while I put them in here because I thought it was pretty sick. It's time to get back to work. right, guys, so as you just saw in those past couple of clips, I was putting these hatches together. Billy came by yesterday and he picked up 3 of the hatches. He literally brought them back today. He painted them and his shop is sick, man. Now when I tell you that Billy can paint, this dude can paint. Like, he is a professional. The quality in this stuff is crazy, man. I'm pretty sure that Billy and I are definitely gonna be working together on some projects in the future. Now I'm gonna get behind the camera and I'm gonna show you guys some of the products and stuff that he painted, because this stuff is sick. It's next level. The camera footage does not even do it justice. Let me show you what we got going on. This is the back rear hatch. This one's gonna be going right up here against the transom, but look at the freaking paint job, man. And my God, the thing's like a mirror. He told me that some of this paint that he used in here was almost $500 a gallon. It's crazy money. He also painted the Livewell lid and he painted his big storage compartment lid. He had already painted his front foot pedal tray. I mean, this stuff is sick. This color is gonna be so crazy. I love the theme build for this and the fact that he's painting all this crap, because I don't want to paint none of it. And the fact that he is so amazing at it, that just makes it even next level. It is really a cool paint job. But look at this. He painted the cowling cover. We got some new decals for this. This thing has like a fine line strip in there, that sparkly silver to separate the black top and the stock Yamaha color. I mean, that thing is killer, man. Luckily, the rest of his motor, the lower part of it, actually looks pretty good. So this is really gonna set that motor off, especially once we get those new decals on there. I mean, the thing is like a mirror. I know you can see my reflection in the damn thing. Super sick. Anyway, I still got a lot to do. Let's get back to work. All right, so you saw the amount of quality that is in this paint that Billy did in here. Now, this is stuff that you just can't learn overnight. This dude's been painting for a long time, and you just cannot teach experience. Now, I'm hyped about this because all this painting is stuff that I don't have to paint. And not only that, but it's going to look 1,000 times better than something I could do. It does kind of give me the motivation to want to learn more about painting. I just feel like if someone else can do it, then why can't I? And that's the mentality I've always had with everything in my life. And that's why I take the leap of faith and do things that most people are scared of, because, yeah, that's who I am. It's going to be so sick when this entire boat is painted and I get to put this turf and stuff in here and I get to the end of this boat build. But it's been a long journey so far and we're only like halfway there. So I actually had a customer hit me up today and he wanted to know why I couldn't build his boat in 2 weeks. And I told him point blank, I do this as a hobby. I do these boats on the side. It's hard for me to run these boats through the company because there's just not enough money in them. I mean, a build like this ran through my company with all the overhead and stuff we have to pay, you're gonna spend $15,000 to get me to build your boat. Now, this boat build that I do at home on the side, you know, it's still gonna be like a $7,000 boat build. I mean, it's a lot of work that goes into this thing. And I try to tell him, I'm like, you know, I do this on nights and weekends and it's taking into my personal time. And I love doing it. I'm trying to, you know, make something of the YouTube channel. And it's fun to me. It's really fun to me. I really enjoy the builds. I enjoy the finished product and especially the reveal videos and just knowing that this boat is going to be a boat that's going to be out there. It's going to have my name on it and it's going to be floating around catching fish for the next 30, 40 years easily. So that's what I do it for. Most people don't realize this, but I run a business on a 40-hour work week, Monday through Friday, that is putting out $150,000 worth of work every single month. That is a lot of stuff. Majority of the stuff I'm doing in there is quoting the jobs. I literally have stacks of papers that are, you know, 50 papers deep, full of 20 pages of drawings on each job, trying to quote them and then ordering all the materials. And then on top of that, we're shorthanded right now, just like every business is. And I'm out there building all these crazy jobs and doing all this other stuff. So a lot of these boats kind of get put on the back burner, and that's just the nature of the beast. I mean, if I'm gonna do a $20,000 job or a $5,000 job, you know, it's just one of those things where it's like, I have employees, and I only have a couple employees right now. The employees that I do have are awesome, and they kick ass. The bottom line is, the company can't float off of boats. You gotta keep them big boys happy. You saw the same thing I did in the SB build. You know, we're building a $40,000 boat. We're doing it in my garage because we're doing other jobs that are twice that in the shop every single day. Now, I'm probably gonna start another YouTube channel showcasing a lot of the builds I do in the shop just because they're crazy. You guys have no clue what goes into half the shit we do at the shop, but they are very intricate and humongous stuff. I don't wanna rant on about this, but I did go ahead and finish up these other 3 hatches for Billy. I got one more electrical hatch to build. I'm gonna give him that so he can get all those painted this week. And then I'm gonna keep on working on this boat. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna cut out this hole up in the front deck. I'm gonna figure out what I need to have in here for the rod locker. Try to get this thing done. It is literally hurting my brain to think about this rod locker because there's so many components that go into the thing. I mean, before I put this front deck in here, before I install this Livewell permanently and install the drain, I've got to have this entire rod locker figured out because it has to recess up into the front of the damn deck. And on top of that, once I cut this hole here, this whole thing is shoved full of foam. So if I'm gonna cut the hole here, I wanna dig the foam out and recess the tray into it, then I'm gonna have to cut a hole over here for the recessed foot pedal tray because I'm gonna need access to get inside of there and cut the foam out of there just so I can clear out that hole. And on top of that, I can't cut the hole for the damn recessed foot pedal tray until I figure out the trolling motor and the mount, the degree, the angle, because this thing has to be perfect. It can't be too far forward. It can't be too far backward. I don't do anything subpar. It's got to be just right. And if I install this foot pedal tray and cut the hole for it right now, and it's in the wrong spot, if it's 1 inch off when I install my graph bridge and put the graphs on there, then when you deploy the trolling motor, it's going to end up hanging on to one of the side of the graphs or not deploying correctly. Those are all things that I take into consideration before I put any holes into this front deck. So I've got a lot of figuring to do, and it's getting kind of late, and this video is getting kind of long. So I'm going to go ahead and call this one, but I'm going to pick right up where I left off in the next episode. I just wanted to thank you guys for watching. I really appreciate it. If you want to help me out, hit that damn like and subscribe button. I'll see you guys next time. I got to get back to work.